So I don't think we have a metric that's really particular, like 12% more users or anything. What's important to me as far as seeing it succeed, though, the way I would measure it is if the people of California really respond to it, if other projects embrace it, and if understanding what your government is doing in big construction projects becomes part of the normal conversation of society. If you know, I would like a world where when China builds the Three Rivers Dam, that there's Three Rivers Dam, that there would be a big model everybody would look at all the time. You know, that when there's a new airport, a new runway at LAX, third runway or something, you could look at that and see that being built. That everything that was big would be part of reality, your personal reality, from when it was planned through when it was developed until it was opened.
So how complicated was this to actually create, you know, this?
Let me jump in there really quick too, so you can know on our end why this has already been successful. These models were developed by one of our consultants, Parsons Brinkerhoff, they basically are primarily responsible for making all the utilities connect. So we've had access to this information forever. It was designed for us. But ways that this has helped us already, because it's public, is that when people contact us and have questions about the bridge, we can literally, over the phone, tell them to load up Google Earth, and if they have that capacity, we can have a much more informed conversation about whether lanes are going to be closed, about if they're coming out to film on the bridge, what aspects they can see of the bridge. You know, it's that type of tool. I mean, even just graphically, whenever we want to take a little bit of a different look on the bridge, it's easier to load this than to go into some of our plans and specs just to look at basic elements of the bridge.
I have another comment I'd like to make too. Every time somebody leads by example, they teach everybody else, they kind of raise their expectations a little bit. So, for example, you can go anywhere on a bridge that isn't even finished yet, but if you want to buy tickets at the for a Giants game, you don't know where the seat is. You know, why shouldn't you be able to just type into something the seat you want to buy, or all the seats that are for sale, and be flown to that seat and look out at the game and know what the view would be? You know, why wouldn't you expect that? And you think, I'm not coming to your park until you make that possible. You know, why wouldn't you expect as a society to understand what you were doing before you did it? If you buy a hotel in Hawaii and they say it's got an ocean view, well, what does that mean? It means you can like see the horizon from some cabin in the back of a mountain, or does it mean you're on the beach, right? We should be able to go to the Hilton website and click and just look out the view of the window of the room they're trying to sell you. So the expectation of humans, billions of humans, goes up every time somebody shows what's possible.
So kind of a multi-part question. Was it hard to convince you to get on board with this? Was it hard to create, and do you have other projects that are in the chute to be put on as well?
Yes, yes, and yes. I'll give you a quick answer. So the thing that was hard on this is it's always interesting when you have new technology, what is hard? Because you might think that the drawing of it is hard. Well, actually what was hard was coming to a sort of philosophical bond about what's honorable to show in Google Earth. At Google, we worked really hard to translate people's questions into good answers. And if you look at the bay, and we show you something that doesn't look like the bay, we feel like we cheated. So they wanted to show their bridge 3 years before it was finished as a bridge. And we said, we really can't do that because there's no bridge there. That would be like lying, right? They said, well, it's going to be there because we got the whole government's behind it, we got the money, we got the hammer out, we're drilling, you know. I said, well, so we spent a long time, really a long time, negotiating collegially what would be the responsible thing to do to describe something that's going to happen that hasn't happened. What should we do? And we needed a 3D immersive reality version of the word proposed, or underway, or projected. It's not fanciful, it's just, hasn't manifested yet. So we come up with this idea, it was their idea, what if it was partially transparent? And the idea part was more transparent, and as the parts became real, they became solid. So they kind of moved from the future world to the real world. So things that were solid, people always knew Google was telling you exactly how things work. And the parts that were sort of a little bit ghosty were parts that the California government is telling you we plan to do. Right? And the transition from ghosty to steel is just time. And that seemed like a great solution. So once we hit on that, it's been smooth sailing all the way.
That's right.
So that was the real issue. It was the understanding how to best put information in a context where people could understand what it meant and interpret it in a way that's helpful to them, but also didn't falsely tell them things that that wouldn't lead to a false interpretation. So we really care about that. And I think we've achieved that. I think you can look at that and once you know that semi-transparent, like stop a second. this walkway isn't made of glass, right?
Right.
Right, so the fact that it looks transparent means that it's not finished yet, it's not actually installed. But when it's installed, it'll be right there. And once you get that concept in your mind, then you understand that you're seeing the future through the eyes of the present, with a slightly ghosty truth to it. And I think that exactly models the way the future is. We know what we're going to do. Like you're going to go to a certain restaurant, you can imagine the lasagna, but you haven't gotten there yet. You know, it's like ghosty lasagna. So I think that we've done a good job at that. And so I think that's a good model. And it makes me emboldened to put lots of future projects into Google Earth, as long as we have this rule that, you know, semi-transparent means it's underway. And you can imagine a similar thing in the case of Google Maps with a road that's proposed but not built yet. If we draw it like all the other roads, you might try to drive on it, and you get there and you feel like Google Maps had misled you. If we didn't show it at all, you might wonder what happened to that proposed road you passed in the bond bill. So there needs to be something in the middle that says, you know, a dotted line, or something that says it's coming but it's not here yet. And so that's what we negotiated for the bridge.
So Michael, in that sense,
Yes.
has the Bay Bridge become a template for how you're going to do public work projects all over the world?
It is my hope that it is exactly that. And it is our work to work with the Bay Bridge team to share their vision to other teams that might follow the lead of the Bay Area, the California Department of Transportation, and the bridge team, to really show that this is the way it should be done. And that's the thing that not only that people that build bridges and fund them should agree on to, but something that citizens for who it's being done should demand. You know, I approved you doing it, I want to see what you do. And other people say, we're doing it, we want to show you how we're doing it. And so that partnership, I think, is a really good one. And I think this bridge project and this team has been the prototype for it. It invented that, and we've implemented that, and I think it's a good thing. I'm proud of that.
So your next project?
Bart?
Oh. Well, we have, I mean, internally we are looking at this as a model for the state government. We haven't identified yet a next project, but there are those that we could potentially do this same type of thing for. Potentially even Doyle Drive here in the Bay Area has got similar team members on it. So you might be able to see stuff like this in the future. But you have to take that first step. And there are a lot of reasons why we took that step. I mean, a lot of the convention here came straight out of video games. And part of our reason for doing this is wanting to entice kids to become engineers. When you talk to kids today, and I mean smart ones that are really driven and want to do something collegially, they, for the most part, want to be lawyers or crime scene investigators or something like that they've seen on TV. You know, there's crime scene Miami, but there's no civil engineer Miami. So what we want to do here is begin that inspirational process, bring them into the game. Look, if you want to design the backgrounds for Grand Theft Auto 12, you probably could design the next Grand Central Station. And we want to give you a way of seeing that now.
Let me add something to that also. I mentioned in my very first remark that there's a kind of a social, political ethic to inform populace. A lot of times people in societies and families or businesses are asked to vote or choose or express a preference. And they ask questions like, do you want this or that? And even though it sounds like a real question, it's usually like, let's make a deal. You don't know what the questions actually mean, like the options really mean. You don't know what the implications are. You don't know what it actually would mean tangibly to have choice A or choice B. So how can you vote? So one of the things that I think this might lead to, and I hope it does, is that when there's a debate, say, about a new park for the city, and maybe it's going to be a skate park, maybe it's going to be a water park, say. And people say, well, person A wants the water park and person B wants the skate park, and what does the city think? Well, what's it going to be like? You know, so you can imagine, you would say, well, I'm not going to even vote until I can look on the ballot, you know, the 3D electronic ballot, or until I can look ahead of time. And skate to the skate park, or ride the water ride to the water park, and say, oh, I want the water park. It doesn't mean anything to be asked to express a preference. You don't know what the words mean that you're saying yes or no to. And this is really important. It's a subtle point, but often people are willing to make an uninformed choice because they lack the information to make an informed choice, and a choice has to be made. That's not a context that people should happily accept. We're doing our best to present the best information to people so they can make a good choice, whatever their choice would be. You know, like if this was a proposed project, it wouldn't be Google's goal to get you to vote for or against the bridge. It would be our goal to make sure you understood what it meant to have that bridge that way. And that we've done our part, and I think the Bay Bridge people have done their part too. Thank you.